There are certain behaviors that can be harmful in relationships. Stoicism encourages us to surround ourselves with positive people of strong moral character. In this video, we will discuss 15 types of concerning behaviors to watch out for, as they could indicate an unhealthy dynamic that may be best avoided. If you notice these patterns in some of your current relationships, consider setting firmer boundaries or limiting contact. Approaching these situations calmly and rationally can help mitigate further harm. I appreciate you watching. If you find this video meaningful, please like and subscribe for more content related to personal growth and wisdom. Now, without further ado, here is 15 things to see if someone is using you. Number 1, they only reach out when they need something from you. One major red flag that someone may be using you is if they only seem to reach out or connect when they need something. If your interactions are very one-sided, with them asking favors or requesting your help but never reciprocating, that could be a sign of imbalance in the relationship. Think carefully about the dynamic. Do they ask how you're doing, offer emotional support when you need it, or make gestures to help you out without expecting anything in return? Or do your conversations always steer towards what they currently need from you? It's healthy for relationships to involve mutual give and take, without keeping precise score. However, if it seems like they see you purely as an accessory and resource for them to tap into now and then, while your needs and life outside of serving them goes ignored, caution may be warranted. This could tie into other manipulation tactics that take advantage of kind-hearted people who want to see the best in others. The Stoic philosophers offer wisdom here on setting healthy boundaries and having self-respect. You must judge if genuine care and equity exist on both sides. If you feel constantly drained, unappreciated, or disrespected, that reveals the unbalanced foundation the relationship rests upon. Discuss this openly or reevaluate those connections using your time for relationships where you feel fulfilled, uplifted, and appreciated for who you are rather than merely what you provide others. Number 2, they frequently break plans or commitments. It can sting when we feel like our friends or loved ones keep pushing aside plans with us when something better comes up. We've all had those moments of anticipation for a long-scheduled outing or promised meetup, only to have them nonchalantly cancel at the last minute because an exciting invitation or chance for fun popped up elsewhere. It leaves you feeling less important, an afterthought rather than a priority. Yet frequent cancellation of pre-arranged plans is sadly a common warning sign that someone sees a relationship primarily for what value or opportunities it might offer them in a selfish sense. Rather than truly cherishing the meaning of shared experiences with you, it reveals that on their internal scale of priorities, you consistently rank lower when weighed against their own pleasure or gain. The truth of our priorities emerges with where we actually choose to invest our finite time and attention. While perfect reliability is unrealistic between flawed humans, patterns of one-sided commitment speak volumes. If your presumed friend can't be troubled to honor commitments made with you because something better for them pulls their attention away, you must recognize that relationships imbalance center of gravity and guard your own dignity or emotional investment accordingly. As the Stoic sages would caution, base not the measure of your worth on such shaky foundations. Seek those friends whose word and company you can rely on without worry when the next flashy invitation reaches their inbox. Fickle things will leave you empty. Anchor rather in those steadfast few who make you consistently feel like a priority in their lives, not an optional accessory. Number 3, they borrow money or items, but don't return them in a timely manner or at all. We've all dealt with that friend or family member who seems to perpetually forget their wallet and needs to borrow money for lunch or a cup of coffee. Or the neighbor who needed to just borrow your tool set or lawnmower for a quick weekend project that you then had to awkwardly track them down 2 months later to get back, covered in dust in the corner of their garage. And while good faith forgetfulness or mishaps certainly happen, patterns of one-sided borrowing without responsible follow-through can be an infuriating red flag that you're being used. After all, once they've gotten what they needed from you, suddenly remembering to repay debts or return your valued possessions no longer ranks high on their list. out of sight, out of mind. The Stoic philosophers recognized the wisdom of judging people by their actions more than their words. While we all make mistakes, if friends make a habit of conveniently forgetting repayments they owe you, failing to return items they've borrowed in a timely manner again and again, it may signify a lack of respect and low prioritization of you on their part. Consciously or not, they've come to rely on your kindness without matching consideration. This is where healthy boundaries come in, sometimes writing off an MIA loan for the sake of the friendship. But tolerating ongoing disrespectful treatment leads to toxicity and imbalance. We all stumble at times, but sustained patterns of self-oriented behavior demand re-evaluation of whether such connections warrant your continued time, emotional investment, and resources. As the Stoics emphasize, peace comes when we base relationships on genuine goodwill and mutual support rather than one-sided extraction. Reorient towards those who consider you as high a priority as you do them. Number 4. They share your private information without permission. Few things can make you feel more betrayed and violated than when someone you trusted shares sensitive private details about you behind your back. Whether an embarrassing struggle you opened up to them about, secrets told in confidence, or even private contact info given only for emergency reasons. Yet for those practiced in using people, that intimate personal knowledge unfortunately becomes little more than potential currency or social leverage to be exploited at their convenience. Maybe they casually mention an insecurity you ask them not to disclose to get a laugh with some new acquaintance. Maybe they hand out your phone number without permission, exposing you to endlessly annoying spam calls. Or during a fight, they weaponize some vulnerability you confided because they know it would cut you to the core. In each case, they choose boosting their own ego or social standing over honoring clear boundaries and respect for your dignity or consent. Friends worthy of that title should guard your secrets closely and thoughtfully, not wield them carelessly to entertain others or benefit themselves. As the Roman Stoic Seneca wisely said, we should behave to our friends as we would wish our friends to behave to us. So when evaluating connections in your life, reflect carefully on whether they exhibit the integrity, care, and respectfulness they'd want in return if roles were reversed. Those unwilling to honor reasonable boundaries are revealing their self-oriented priorities, run fast and far. But take comfort, as there are indeed kindred spirits ready to uplift you while keeping confidence, sympathizing with struggles and celebrating triumphs in a way that makes you feel safely understood, never used merely as means to an end. The healthiest friendships let both flourish. Number 5. They put you down in front of others. Even those closest to us can thoughtlessly make comments putting us down or subtly exposing our vulnerabilities. Yet true friends realize quickly when they've caused hurt, offer genuine apologies, reassure our strengths, and don't repeat careless remarks. However, when belittling you or highlighting your insecurities becomes an ugly pattern, it likely signifies an unhealthy and imbalanced connection. Friends who routinely ignore your feelings to get laughs at your expense reveal they value their own social status and ego over your dignity and emotional safety. Similarly, those who stay silent when others unfairly insult you aren't truly on your team as real friendship requires. They'd rather avoid risking social capital than stand up with the courage of their convictions to defend you against petty slights and cruelty. In both cases, the convenience of going along with criticism thrown your way matters more to them than honoring the supportive fabric that real friendship is built upon. As the Roman Stoic Seneca wisely observed, the healthiest friendships uplift our spirits rather than dragging them down to earthly levels of ego and status seeking. So reflect carefully on whether certain connections in your life energize your best self or routinely leave you feeling diminished. True kindred spirits stand in your corner and have your back when it counts rather than piling on or staying silent. Have the courage to let go relationships proven repeatedly unwilling to show basic care or respect when you need it most. For there are indeed friends and communities ready to embrace the real you, flaws and all. They won't exploit anxieties for cruel jokes or leave you hanging in the wind. That makes all the difference. Number 6. They monopolize the conversation to talk about themselves. We've all dealt with the socially tone-deaf friend or date who hogs the conversation spotlight, droning on and on about themselves without coming up for air. At best, it's comically poor etiquette, and at worst reveals a callous self-absorption that borders on contempt for you. While we all deserve safe spaces to vent now and then, healthy relationships require genuine curiosity about each other's inner worlds and the courtesy of balanced exchanges. True friends notice if one person dominates the dialogue day after day, failing to inquire how the other is truly feeling or coping with life's ups and downs. Conversation flows naturally when both make space to learn what weighs on the other's mind and heart. Yet for those using people transactionally, such courtesy rarely even occurs to them. You represent merely a passive audience for their monologues rather than a whole human with independent needs or anything of equal importance to say. They seek vessels to dump emotional baggage into, not intimate spiritual connection of mutual understanding. As the Stoic philosophers emphasized, true friendship thrives only between those who engage sincerely and meet each other halfway. So if you find certain relationships feature a frustrating one-way current of non-stop stories about them, yet stone-cold indifference to your inner world, take it as redirection to seek out balanced connections. For vibrant communities and kindred spirits, stand ready to lift you up, celebrate your voice being heard, and make you consistently feel like a priority too. You needn't play passive audience to anyone so self-absorbed they can't see past their own ego. Number 7. They blame mistakes or wrongdoings on you that you don't deserve. Few behaviors strain relationships quicker than the profoundly childish habit of dodging responsibility by pinning blame unfairly upon someone else. Rather than own their mistakes with courage or thoughtful apologies when they let you down, immature individuals instinctively pass the buck and point fingers. Healthy adults acknowledge even inadvertent wrongs with grace, seek to learn from errors and restore trust through improved behavior. But self-oriented users compulsively paint themselves the victim, framing you as the scapegoat to escape discomfort. They may gaslight to twist reality, denying committing offenses witnessed firsthand. When backed into accountability corners, they attack verbally and make theatrical displays of indignant outrage. Their self-image rests on flawlessness, so they must attack yours instead. Such toxicity becomes the antithesis of healthy relating and reveals profound inner work is required before genuine connection grows possible with them. As Roman Stoic Seneca said regarding friendship's essence, one soul in two bodies. True kindred spirits demonstrate that by managing conflict with empathy, compassion, and personal responsibility rather than dodging out, while getting blamed unjustly sparks understandable defense instincts. Attempts to reason with unreasonable people waste precious life energy. Focus rather on those relationships where you can speak openly, receive apologies for genuine harms, and see behavior improve over time as understanding blossoms. For surrounding oneself with those avoiding the work of soul growth proves futile. There exist wiser communities awaiting you focused on uplifting humanity, not defining themselves through torn others down. You deserve no less. Number 8. They expect you to compromise your values, boundaries, or priorities for them. Yet one glaring sign someone sees you transactionally is if they pressure you to continually sacrifice or surrender what matters most to you while refusing to budge an inch on their own habits, agenda, or values when you express needs. They frame basic respect as too big an ask, while expecting you to agonize over torturous concessions that eat away at your very essence. Such magnetizing toxicity stems from a profoundly selfish center of gravity, unable to see beyond its own ego-fueled desires and expectations. Rest assured, if you cave in phases to keep their approval, massive parts of yourself will begin dying off until you wake up years later, no longer recognizing or respecting the stranger in the mirror. As Socrates said, "Know thyself remains life's greatest call." As Stoic wisdom advises, recognize that among the billions of humans existing both presently and long ago, there have always been those awakened people ready to embrace your authentic walk. So why waste this precious life, unlikely to come again, twisting yourself into uncomfortable pretzels trying to force connections repeatedly proven imbalanced or toxic? There exist kindred spirits excited to welcome exactly who you are, while honoring mutual growth. Once you experience that symphonic alignment of values and vision, one-sided compromise loses all allure. Prioritize what sets your soul ablaze. Number 9. They contact you when they need emotional support, but are never there to support you in return. True kindness shines brightest not when convenient, but when summoning that last bit of energy to lift the spirits of someone hanging by the last thread of hope. Just one listening ear returning the favor you showed them in lonelier seasons can redeem faith in human goodness just when they needed that lifeline most. Yet soul-crushing toxicity awaits those finding themselves endlessly playing the emotional caretaker while perpetually starved of reciprocal comfort. There is no relief for the weary when white-knuckling through turmoil or grief alone, watching calls meant for venting or consoling ring straight to voicemail because your friend can't skip happy hour. They'll milk personal traumas for hours to soak up your care, then vanish when roles reverse. Awaken to the liberation that relational energy expended must align with energy returned, or the scales of friendship collapse. You deserve nourishing connections who won't just use you as a tissue for tears. For there exist still those rare few ready to weather contagious storms and spontaneous challenges alike together, in line with the Stoic ideals of service and brotherhood that lift our gaze to horizons beyond selfish things. The most seasoned travelers know adventures aren't defined by palm trees and infinity pools, but rather those who grabbed your hand when vertigo hit atop the stunning precipice no Instagram could capture. If certain companions only share the view, but never the burden, bless them as teachers, not friends. Move forward lighter for surrounding company Socrates would be proud of. The destination is thrilling but meaningless without them. Number 10. They minimize your feelings or concerns as irrational or unimportant. Few behaviors strain bonds of trust and understanding faster than being vulnerable enough to confide anxieties or heartaches, only to have your inner turmoil dismissed as silly or irrational. Minimizing emotional injury suffered by decreeing what should or shouldn't upset others shuts down human connection brutally fast. Rather than making space for two differing vantage points, it sends the arrogant message that their worldview reigns supreme as cold, hard reality, while your softer perspective gets relegated to the realm of hysterical overreaction. Such quantum imbalance signifies relationships doomed to tear loved ones down rather than lift them up. Invalidating others' feelings demonstrates a stunted emotional intelligence, unable to grasp perspectives outside one's own experience. It prioritizes being right over being compassionate. As Roman Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius wisely observed, genuine wisdom involves unlearning our false certainties. So consider whether those unable to validate you represent immaturity still needing to grow. Number 11. They refuse to support your other friendships or relationships. An unfortunate red flag in a friendship emerges when your loved one starts conveying through words or actions that you shouldn't have close bonds with other people. Perhaps they mock or speak ill of your other friends. Maybe they guilt-trip you for trying to balance multiple relationships or have jealousy tantrums anytime you must split focus. In extreme cases, they demand escalating degrees of priority and eventually an exclusive loyalty oath to them above anyone else in your world. Their fragile ego simply won't tolerate feeling like anything less than the absolute center of your universe. Yet true kindred spirits recognize our capacity for love and friendship multiplies rather than divides when shared across many rich connections nurtured in tandem. They motivate you toward expanding your circle widely to touch as many lives through meaningful engagement as you can imagine, not constricting it via manipulation, guilt trips, or petty jealousy when affection gets redirected from them briefly. After all, connecting soul to soul remains limitless. No friendship competes for some imaginary first-place trophy in your heart. As Stoic philosopher Seneca counseled, the highest form of wisdom centers love not on temporary gain for the self, but rather uplifting our collective human family as one. Ask yourself if certain relationships leave you feeling supported and encouraged toward broadening intimacy, or actually more lonely and isolated in the long term. Then, invest accordingly. For there exist unlimited beautiful souls awaiting discovery, down roads less traveled when you muster courage to ignore vain demands for exclusivity. Follow your heart's expansion and watch life's richness unfold. Number 12. They compare you unfavorably to others or point out your flaws frequently. Our flaws emerge clearly when seen through eyes of those claiming to love us. Whispered cutting remarks comparing each perceived shortcoming to the superior virtues of exes, friends or family carve deeper than any stranger's passing insult. The intimate privilege of knowing our dreams and vulnerabilities gets cruelly weaponized against self-worth rather than nurturing growth. Rather than celebrate shared adventures that deepen trust, our every action gets nitpicked against idealistic standards that somehow they and other glittering models of perfection always seem to effortlessly meet, at least in memory's foggy rearview. Such manipulation insidiously erodes foundations vital for spreading roots or dancing freely without self-consciousness. Note carefully those unable see your brilliance even as they magnify your flaws. For coexistence with someone requiring the spotlight, always fixed shining on them breeds nothing but bitterness and anxiety, slowly starving your soul. Yet as Stoic wisdom advises, private faults get balanced by public virtues when judging the whole person fairly. Rather than dimming your light to accommodate attention vampires, move courageously to eliminate cruel criticisms, not your spirit, from the equation. Then watch your gifts flourish while surrounding company celebrates, rather than denigrates what makes you wonderfully and perfectly you. For out under starry skies with hands intertwined, await fellow wanderers seeing the beauty marks, not blotting out the shining essence that flows through you. If you are listening to this, thank you for staying till the end. If you feel any of these Stoic lessons resonated with you today, feel free to start a Stoic discussion in the comments. I welcome Stoic discussions as they are what the great Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca advised for. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, and if you want more content like this, subscribe and hit the bell. Thank you for watching, and as always, I hope you find peace and serenity in the Stoic ways.